Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I bet you didn't expect to see me here again. Well, I wasn't planning on coming back, but I saw this video from someone who I won't name since I'm not exactly going to be talking about it too positively, going over redistricting in a very similar format to how this one will go. But the problem with it was he was pretty obviously biased towards Democrats. He had Democrats winning the House without redistricting quite easily, which I don't think that there's a coherent argument for at this point. Besides, for please believe me, I'm begging you, ignore all logic. Democrats will win the House with 230 seats, guys. Please, I can't cope with the fact that my color is not going to paint the map with more of itself next fall. Now, he did go over some of these states redistricting, but at some point, you know, he treated it as we'll take redistricting and we'll say Republicans gain a few seats, but it's not going to be that bad, guys. We can still win the House. We can still win. Which I think is stupid because I think even if you had that prediction, 225 Democrat, I do think redistricting could give Republicans a House majority at that point. So I've decided I won't be myopic. I'm going to be going over every state with possible redistricting heading into 2026. Now, have I missed some? Perhaps. I know Oregon people on Twitter, which very reliable. Same thing with Washington. People have said redistrict these states, but at some point, the bleeding heart tranny piece of shit on Twitter isn't going to have much influence over the legislature of Washington. So forgive me for not including their opinion on this map. But this is everywhere where there's been some intention to redistrict by state legislators, courts, governors, etc., the president, etc., etc. Um, and we'll be going through it mostly chronologically. I think we'll start with the states with forced redistricting, the first of which is Ohio. Now, because the 2022 map was not voted on bipartisanly in the legislature, Ohio makes it so that you have to redistrict again in 4 years. Ohio's very weird with their redistricting rules, forcibly limiting the amount of counties you can split. Um, Mandating specific cities to not be split and some to be split. Like this splits the city of Columbus because it has to be split. It's at 900,000 people. That's too much for a congressional district, which means because of that, you could split Columbus six different ways. As long as that doesn't make you hit the county split limit. But in Cincinnati or Cleveland, and even Dayton, Ohio, you can't split those cities. It's very weird. It's a really stupid redistricting process, though I guess it works somewhat. Um, Not really, though, because Republicans are potentially going to eliminate two or three Democrat seats. I think it's all but confirmed that Marcy Kaptur is fucked. I think that Amelia Sykes probably won't survive 2026 redistricting. By won't survive, I mean she'll be unemployed. See, the real jobs numbers were the friends we made along the way. Um, and in Cincinnati, I'm not really 50-50 on this one. I just think it's much more convenient for the legislature to draw it into a pack, which would mean that it's like a D plus 30 district or something. Um, but you can draw it, so if you take Cincinnati and either one, drag it straight into the rural areas, two, drag it up here, which is risky, or three, drag it straight into southern Ohio, you can keep the entirety of the city of Cincinnati contained while making around a Trump plus 10 district, which should sink a landsman. Could even have it go back to the old 2020 district, which is why I have this. This was a Trump district. It was even a Trump 2024 district. Because what happened was, rather than, I think this might have split Cincinnati. I'm not sure though. But what happened was they dragged it here This is a very Republican rule area, and then they dragged it straight into the county. Um, Rather, in 2024, the reason why it was Democrat, and more importantly, the reason why it was Democrat in 2022, when it originally flipped, was they took in many more red but slightly red suburbs around the city of Cincinnati, um, and made the district way too blue for Steve Chabot to hold on in. So I don't think that they'll redistrict that to be Republican favorable, that though that is something to watch in a potential map. Then we have next Utah. Utah is most likely going to get a court decision that is going to force them to redistrict. Um, Back in 2022, Utah was recommended by their redistricting commission to give Democrats one seat, about proportional with the statewide vote. You really can't draw it so that Democrats have two seats in Utah without making it a monstrosity, and you really shouldn't. A state that's R plus 20 shouldn't have a half and half delegation when California has an 18 Republican delegation. So I think that there's a case to be made that even though it's pretty obvious that they're going to have to redistrict, it might be for 2028 and not 2026. We're even thinking before 2024 that you might have a new Utah seat. At some point, I think they have enough time. I think they're going to have to draw a new seat in Utah for Democrats, which levels out Ohio. Then we have Wisconsin. This one is Democrats not understanding states. They're like, oh my God, why does a swing state have six Republicans? You have two competitive seats. This is why. But Democrats have always wanted to redraw Wisconsin, a normal district that snakes from Kenosha to Milwaukee to Oshkosh. That would be Democrat, and still would lose by 0.1%. Derek Van Orden drag him straight into the city of Madison because that's fair. But the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which is supposed to be nonpartisan, decided not to redraw the maps. Sucks to suck. They voted in the Supreme Court for a reason, and that reason was to fall for it again. Fell for it again award on every one of the 55% of Wisconsinites who turned out in both the 2023 and 2025 spring generals for nothing. Ha ha. Shame on you. Eat my ass. But anyways, this is still in lower courts. That's the Democrat cope. Oh my, but they might still overturn the map. There is no chance that they're gonna have another case in the lower courts, and it's gonna work its way back up to the Supreme Court. And this time, Janet, please strike down the maps, Janet. It's not happening. So Wisconsin's map will most likely remain in place. Democrats could potentially flip the third district, which really does wonders for their arguments of the state being gerrymandered. The fact that they're going to flip a district in it, so gerrymandered, you know, it's geography, and yet Nevada's 3-1 map is allowed to stand. But you know, it's two seats. At some point, it's not going to change too much. Democrats, they have other redistricting opportunities. Not really. Anyways, we move on to another one with confirmed redistricting. Texas. This map was released, God, like a week ago or something. Um, so what it does, it acts as one Dallas seat. Drags it out straight into the rural areas. I mean, it's certainly an efficient way to get rid of it, and it also does clean up some of the excesses around Dallas now that they really don't have to worry about the impending Democrat trends. The fact that, in 2 years, Texas is going to be a safe blue state, now that that's been properly dispelled, they don't have to do this. I'm sure Pat Fallon is happy about that. This is a much cleaner district. It's still not great. I really don't think you need to extend it here. These are all Republican areas, but you know, it's better than whatever the fuck this was. But yeah, they mostly removed the Democrat parts in Tarrant County, since Tarrant County is now a Trump plus 5 county. All these seats are sufficiently Republican to the point where they probably don't flip. If anything, it'd be the 24th, which has always been close. 20 points isn't exactly close, but if you want to call that close, okay, but it is only a Trump plus 16 seat. Wow. That means Democrats have to win by two statewide to flip it. I don't think they're winning by two statewide. Anyways, we move down to Houston, where Republicans were expected to take out two seats. Went easy. And did it elsewhere, but they went easy on Democrats and gave them three seats. Why? I don't know. Maybe incumbent requests like you can do it, you do kind of have to fuck up. Like the second and the 38th. The 38th here looks pretty much the same to how it is right now, with obviously some minor changes. I'm sure Wesley Hunt, even if he's going to be retiring to run for Senate, he probably isn't. He wouldn't want his district to be changed too much. But they decided to keep um, most of Houston as is, but they did take Sylvia Garcia's seat, which is around Harris plus 18 to 20 in this configuration that was used for 2024. She's an overperformer. It's a very Hispanic seat. Was trending Republican. Probably wouldn't have flipped anytime soon, but could have gotten close in like a big red year. Um, Later on, if Garcia retired, they decided to do that now, and they took these blue areas, kind of on the outskirts of Houston. These are very Hispanic. They're still in Houston, but like I said, kind of the outskirts. And they decided to drag that straight into the rural areas of Harris County. It's only a what is that? Trump plus 15 district. Is it that efficient? Probably not. Um, it didn't even vote for Greg Abbott by 10, though. I guess if you're thinking that Hispanic trends continue, it's fine. And we have the 35th over here, which I'm skipping these seats because those will make me mad, and I want to prevent that. Where they take a lot of the outskirts of Bayard County, San Antonio, and they drag that into the rural areas. It's fine. Somewhat Hispanic, not completely Hispanic. It's about a Trump plus 10 seat, trending right though. It was a Trump plus 1.9 seat in 2020. It's fine. It could be competitive if 2026 gets pretty bad for Republicans or Hispanics invert, which I think the latter could happen. It's happened in midterms. But what we can do is we can smack our hands together, bend down on our knees, and like a real Bible thumping Texas, pray to God that Hispanics continue to side with us. So then we have these two Rio Grande Valley seats, since we only got three seats, where they draw out one incumbent. How can they draw out only one incumbent with two seats? Uh, I'll show you. So, the 34th, they did all they could. And the 34th, what you do is you have this little snake that goes into why am I forgetting the name of this county? I'm embarrassed. Hidalgo. I was thinking Hildalgo. I don't know why. Um, but you have the little snake down here that goes into Hidalgo County, which gave Vicente Gonzalez about a net vote margin of 6,000. You can see that's this entire statewide margin, not statewide, district wide margin. Um, that single handedly would have flipped Tamayo Flores, but they also decided to be smart for once. I don't know why it's not loading. I don't appreciate that DRA. Um, what the fuck? Okay, DRA is not having fun. We'll ignore it. I'll show it here, and then they decided to drag it here to Corpus Christi, the rural outskirts of the city, which should also net Republicans more votes. It went from about a Trump plus 4 seat in 2024 to about Trump plus 10. It'll be fine. I think he'll knock off Gonzalez with it. Um, it's a little bit iffy, but you should be fine. Then Cuellar, they decided to draw him into Hidalgo County for no reason whatsoever. I can't show you because motherfuck Dave's redistricting, I guess. Um, by, but they decided to move this one, draw them into more Hispanic areas over here. Why? Or no, I know why. Because they wanted their cute little fucking 35th district in the San Antonio suburbs. So they decided to have the 23rd take in more of San Antonio, which required that the Hispanic seat that you're trying to knock off the guy who has one superpower. He does one thing. And nothing else, which is snap his fingers and get 80-20 margins among Hispanics. You decided to draw him into more Hispanic areas. I don't get it. Like here, up here, above Webb County, there's more Hispanic areas. People had drawn maps. Texas GOP asked for people to submit maps. Everyone drew it. Just take part of Webb County out. Webb County is this entire district-wide margin. You just take part of that out and replace it with suburbia in Texas, and you're golden. You're fine. You know, he ended up losing some of the rural areas in Webb County. So depending on how much you take out, you could have made it so that he lost Webb County. Um, and then you would have been fine just adding some suburban counties from the 15th district. But no, no, they decided to give him more Hispanic areas to overperform in. I just don't get it. Like, I get you wanted to move the Bayard County portion out because, yeah, that gave him 10,000 votes. Which one gave him more? Like, it's just, they're banking on him going to jail or retiring, which is not something you want to be banking on. You do not want to be banking on the guy who you're trying to draw out getting so scared. Oh my god, they drew me out. Even though I would win if I ran, I guess I'll just have to not run. It's not something you want. And also, once again, returning to the 2020 configuration, which he won by a measly 19 points. Not too much. In 2020, you had Hidalgo County split three ways, which, helped out in the 15th. You won the 15th. The 15th is ours to keep. I, I don't get it, but Cuellar was able to win this district by like 19, especially because of Hidalgo County. Let me actually go to Texas. Um, he's like, obviously, it's not going to be as bad um, for the GOP in South Texas. I kind of have something similar to here. Actually, this is less blue than the Bayard County portion they drew him into, but he won Hidalgo by 30. I just don't get it. Perhaps he could lose this configuration, but why would you risk it? Like, it's beyond me. It's beyond me. So probably what the map yields is 1, 2, 3 flips for certain, and then 4 probably. But we'll leave Cuellar in because he's winning. I don't get it. I just don't get like Ohio is perfect. They're not like, yes, let's draw Marcy Captor into more territory where she'll overperform. Haha, I'm so smart. Like, they're not like that. Why is Texas like this? So it's complete incompetence. And then after that, California was like, we'll redistrict to counter Texas. So their proposal takes out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 incumbents. Does it pass? I mean, it has to go through a referendum. There's a chance that referendum is significantly delayed and could delay the primaries. I don't know how much California can take before they're just like, this is a retarded idea. Um, but like at some point, is there a timeline to do so? Maybe, because like they hold the referendum. I mean, at this point, they have to hold it mid to late December. Um, Even if they, bend the rules November at most, elections in California take a month and a half to certify. Not even joking about that. Like, do they have time? Probably, maybe not. But this is like a 50-50. I think the referendum probably is leaning towards passing as of now, but there's even a fight there. You know, there's a good chance that Republicans could end up defeating the referendum, and then with that, you could even have some more blowback. Um, the Democrats, which could flip one, two, three, four, 5 seats, and completely reverse what Democrats are trying to do. I'm going to keep it as Democrat gains to be nice for now, but like this could backfire horribly on Democrats, and they're just too stupid to realize that. Um, then we have Nebraska, which might redistrict. I'm just abandoning chronologically now, which would prevent a likely Democrat gain there. Like we're gonna say, as I'm not doing a prediction for these seeds because I could be like, and I think that Derek Van Orden is gonna lose. It's stupid, but Nebraska could shore up that Republican seat. Missouri, Trump especially has applied a lot of pressure to Missouri to redistrict to knock off this seat here and make it a 7-1 map. Um, it's actually remarkably easy to do so. They almost did in 2022, but squishes in the legislature on personal reasons, and not like, oh well, you could risk a these seats are 71-27. This one's 60-30 or 60-35. Like you can easily draw it out. Just split Kansas City 3 ways. Um, but they were pussies. But you're not gonna deny what the White House wants. The White House tells you jump. You ask how high. You don't say, well, actually, Mr. President, we were perfectly fine keeping our 6-2 map in place. So I think Missouri's arm is being twisted. Even their governor, who's like in the 2024 primary, is considered the more squishy one. Even he's fine with redistricting. Um, I think they'll probably knock off the seat. Manuel Cleaver will be packing his bags. And then we move over to Indiana, where the White House has also applied pressure to redistrict the state. There's been 2 proposals, one that knocks off 1 seat, one that knocks off 2. I would go with the former over the latter because even I've tried to cut up the seat. It's just so beautiful, so pristine like this. And like, unlike this seat, which isn't actually that Democrat, is only D plus 24. This one is D plus 40. So you have to split like 4 or 5 ways. Then you jeopardize Sparts, and then you probably jeopardize some other incumbent, then Big Blue Wave. And now you've got 2 seats that are blue going into Indianapolis. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Um, but here, it's pretty easy. You just take Gary, and then you say hello to Southern Indiana. Um, no, not blue. Just like drag it down away from the other blue areas, and then drag that way away from the other blue areas, and it's easy. And then you get a free house seat there. So I think they'll probably do it. Um, Illinois, Pritzker, um, over here where 5 different fucking districts meet. He held a press conference saying he's going to fight back against hashtag fascism by redrawing the maps. You could maybe redraw it so that Darren LaHood seat is gone. It would be very, very risky, and you'd probably end up risking 1, 2, even 3 Democrat incumbents. One more in Chicago, especially with the state trending to the right. Um, but I think he could pull it off. I don't think he will. I think he's smarter than that to realize this map has to be in place for 4 years after this. Um, but I think as of now, there's a chance they redistrict, and we're assuming that every state that has a chance of redistricting does. Same thing with Same argument with California. Um, I'm kind of stretching it in California too. Kentucky, there's been some proposals from the legislature to go like this. They have a Democrat governor, but the legislature is trying to override his veto, which they probably should be able to. Um, I'm pretty sure this seat isn't VRA protected. Um, if it is, then Republicans are really, really stupid, which they are in another state. But if it is VRA protected, we're gonna ignore it. But even so, I think it's more likely than not that Kentucky just gives up. It's really not worth it for 1 seat without White House pressure. And you'd have to like draw 3 incumbents into it. Plus, I think Trump wants Massey gone. More importantly, and drawing him to Democrat-leaning suburbia could help him in a primary. So, as of now, I'd say the Kentucky map probably stands. Then we have our VRA club. We'll talk about South Carolina first. There's already been proposals to cut out Jim Clyburn's seat, which I don't know why. Why are you doing it that early? I don't know. I love how it has like the little tail, so it has coastline. It reminds me of like that Namibia, I think it is. Um, the little panhandle to get the coastline. It's great, but somebody usually to dismantle this district, but you have to get the VRA overturned, which is why we have the Deep South Club. Now, there's other VRA seats like in North Carolina, Tennessee, um, Texas has some VRA seats, even Virginia has some VRA seats, but these are the states that probably redistrict. Be one, two, three, though Alabama could potentially do another, even though that map has been upheld in lower courts, so don't expect it to redistrict. Four, five, if they redistrict. Now, I don't think South Carolina does. I don't think Mississippi does. Georgia, you really can't do this in a pretty way. Both districts would be like Trump plus 8 at best. It's risky. It's risky, and with Bishop as an overperformer, he probably still holds on in the midterm. Think of it, if anything, think it might redistrict for 2028, but probably not for 2026. Louisiana would be the most likely since they are the ones officially appealing the Voting Rights Act, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The entire thing should be gutted. I'm kidding. But they're the ones going after majority minority districts directly. So the Supreme Court upholds the idea of majority and minority districts, then the map holds. But if they don't, there's a chance Louisiana could redistrict to give back the 6 districts to Republicans. Um, it's an ugly map. It's pretty easy to draw it with one Dem seat, then to knock off the other seat. It's a little bit harder. I think as of now, they just leave Democrats with the vote sink there. That's what most of these southern states have done. Um, but potentially they could knock off another seat there. It's just I don't think that the Voting Rights Act is going to be repealed, so we'll leave it as is. Then we move over to Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis has signaled approval for more redistricting. Now, there's 2 proposals currently on the docket, supposedly. One that would knock off 3 seats, which would probably be Castor, 1 seat in Hispanic land, and potentially another one. Maybe not Castor, because that one's a pretty effective pack, and the 13th is already kind of competitive. You don't want to dry on a Polina Luna into a competitive seat. Um, so I'd say it would probably look something like this if they did 3 seats, and then 5 seats, they just go balls to the wall like this. Which actually, balls to the wall, I can say that. That's age appropriate. You can let your kids hear that. Salmonella smarts. But I'd say I'm not sure. I think they probably go for 3 over 5, probably. So I'm torn between splitting the difference between them and just doing 4 seats, or if I were to do 4 seats, it'd be like this, or doing 3 seats, because I think knocking off 3 incumbents in southeastern Florida is a bit hard. Like, then you have to really pack with these districts and then, like, drag these districts into the rural areas and potentially jeopardize more incumbents, especially if Hispanic trends don't continue, yada yada. Like, it could go wrong, but also, like, I think if anyone has the balls to do it, it's Ron DeSantis. So as of now, we're going to split the difference and we're going to do 4 seats, because I think it's like 50-50 between 3 and 5. Then we move to Maryland, which wants to redistrict. I don't know if they can. I really haven't heard anything from Wes Moore, though I would imagine he wouldn't be too enthusiastic with the idea. Plus, the Supreme Court is controlled by Republicans. I don't think that any Democrat gerrymander here holds. New Jersey as well wants to redistrict potentially some state legislatures or some state legislators. Here's the problem. What they have to do before the 2025 gubernatorial election, or like in the immediate aftermath of it, pass a bill to say we want a referendum to overturn the independent commission, which gave Democrats 3/4 of the seats. Very independent commission. In a swing state, mind you, New Jersey is a swing state, and Democrats get 3/4 of the seats. Very normal. But you have to pass that law. Then, when the new General Assembly is inaugurated in 2026, you have to pass that same law again. Then you have to hold a statewide ballot initiative, and then after all of that, you can redistrict. Remember, their primaries are in June, and the filing deadline is before that. So unless they want to go to a Louisiana system, which not even Louisiana is using anymore, we're like, oh yes, we have the primaries on election day. They don't have time. So New Jersey will not be redistricting. As much as um, fucking David Duke Stan, Pride, Transgender, on Twitter is going to tell you New Jersey will not be redistricting. In New York, Kathy Hochul wants to redistrict. That's a really nice thought by her. Too fucking bad. One, she's up for re-election. That would be great to be caught gerrymandering, and I think people would love her for that. Obviously the people on Twitter will love her, but the people who live in the fucking state won't. Two, it's too late. You lost your supermajority. You had your chance to redistrict for 2024. You didn't because you knew it would fucking backfire. If you look at the old Holcommander, I think, you had New York's first, which went into like Hempstead, became a bit bluer. New York's third went into the Bronx. Um, it was a little bit bad. It broke. It broke. It shattered twice. 2022 and 2024. Republicans probably would have won 3 or 4 seats on Long Island, on the presidential level and on the House level. It would have been bad for Democrats. And it's too late at this point. And even if you did, let's say, oh, yeah, you're wholesome, Hulk Commander, you get 1 seat in Long Island, 1 seat in Staten Island, and Lawler, you're probably going to end up losing Swazi, almost no matter what. And this seat in Long Island probably still ends up voting Republican. Staten Island is 65-35 Republican. There's a chance that Malliotakis holds on even if you draw her into fucking Wall Street. There's still a chance she holds on there. And Lawler also is an overperformer. That's the problem. You knocked off every single underperformer in New York here. One, two, three. You had your chance. They blew it. And now Kathy Hochul wants to virtue signal. Too bad. They don't have the supermajorities anymore in the legislature. And this is why I made the video, because as a New Yorker, that is obvious. And also, he's a fellow New Yorker. That's obvious. I don't get how you don't know that. It was in the news. You should have read it in the fucking paper. But that is probably the summation of redistricting. But it gets worse for Democrats because if the VRA is overturned, at best for them, they probably end up losing 2 seats in the Deep South. At worst, if these states have time, it looks horrific for them. But we'll be kind. We'll say they hold on to them. Um, Florida does the less GOP favorable proposal of only 3 seats. We'll say Nebraska doesn't redistrict, so they eventually end up flipping the seat there. Maryland does. There's still a problem, which is that California is not guaranteed. So at best, Republicans are netting 3 seats from redistricting. At worst, Pritzker decides not to. The Utah case falls through and the California initiative fails. Democrats are net losing, what is that, 11 seats from redistricting. And if Florida goes brutal, 13. And then the problem is you're probably losing more incumbents there. So redistricting, it can get bad for Democrats. And this idea for them that it'll all work out in the end. Don't worry, it's stupid. It's idiotic. It's because Democrats can't cope with the fact that their party is going to fucking die. Um, November 3rd, 2026. The fact that the House, it's not even like Republicans could potentially hold it. There's a chance you could make an argument that it's not in contention for 2026 because Republicans are going to flip that many seats held by Democrats in Trump seats. People like Swazi being dead on arrival. Even in Maine, potentially, you can make an argument Jared Golden is dead on arrival. When Democrats, they could flip like maybe 3 Harris seats. One of them could get drawn into a Trump seat if Nebraska redistricts. But like, Democrats might not even have a chance of taking the House. And then the question is, can Republicans expand their slight majority, um, or does their majority stay the same? Like, that's an insane thing to think about. And we could go into the next midterm cycle, not wondering about the outcomes in both the House and the Senate, but wondering how good it is for the incumbent president. That is an insane thought. But this is what happens, Already, House control was going to be hard, much harder than really in any midterm before. Because in 2018, you had a shit ton of Republican incumbents in Hillary Clinton seats. Now, obviously, this is the 2020 map, but look where let me go through places where um, Republicans had incumbents, and these seats are voting more normal in 2020, so it's even more helpful. Um, New Hampshire first flipped in 2016, so I'm wrong there. New York's 19th. New York's 18th. Shit, what the fuck? New York's 11th, or New Jersey's 11th. New Jersey's 7th. Um, New Jersey's 3rd. Republicans had an incumbent in Pennsylvania's 5th. Not even kidding. Republicans had an incumbent in Virginia's 10th. They had an incumbent in Virginia's 2nd. Oh, yay. They had an incumbent in Georgia's 6th. These are not very Republican friendly seats. Um, They had an incumbent in Colorado's 6th. Oh, okay, it's only a 17-point Democrat seat in Washington's 8th, even though that one was kind of close then. Um, California had a Republican incumbent in Josh Harder's district, it was only a measly 10-point Democrat win. That's the problem with comparing this to 2018. 2018, Democrats already had solid footing because they were inevitably going to flip some seats. Like, Republicans were not holding on to Kansas's 3rd or Illinois 6th. Like, they were never going to hold on to some of these districts. And while some of them, like, Illinois 14th, and most of these seats that flipped Republican, with the exception of the 7th, all of them had Republican incumbents going into 2018. While some of them could have potentially held, and that's where the question was in the House. Still, Democrats had solid footing where they had 20 or so Republican incumbents in Hillary Clinton seats that they're probably going to knock off regardless. Because, it was a heavy Hillary Clinton seat. These weren't strong incumbents. A bunch of circumstances. Republicans held on to very few Hillary Clinton seats. Like, I think New York's 24th might be one of the only ones they were able to hold on to. They were like 30 Republican incumbents in Clinton seats, if I'm not mistaken. Here, you have three. You have three Republican incumbents in Harris seats. One, two, three. Now, one of them is retiring, but that seat might be drawn into a Republican seat. That's one gone. One of them is an electoral juggernaut who has no chance of losing. That's two gone. And then finally, maybe you can knock off Lawler, but seeing as how Kathy Hochul is going to be at the top of the ballot, there's a good chance New York has a local regionalized red wave. Three gone. Then you have no offensive opportunities besides for seats that Trump won. And while, yes, the national environment probably shifts Democrat, I'm not expecting an R+3 national environment again. Still, when you are required to outperform that presidential result, you're already on bad footing because 2022, Republicans outperformed it, but in a lot of states they didn't. In Michigan, Republicans underperformed. 2020 presidential. In Ohio, in a lot of seats, Republicans underperformed 2020 presidential, and Ohio's ninth. Like, Pennsylvania, too. The reason why Matt Cartwright was able to hold on, same thing with Susan Wild, is because they outperformed Biden's performance. That's not where you want to be. And Democrats, they don't realize it yet, but they're in a very, very bad position for the House. So this is probably the net result of redistricting, if I had to guess. It's not looking good for Democrats. I'd much rather be a Republican. Or let me do the Illinois seat virtue signal. I'd much rather be a Republican heading into 2026 than a Democrat. If I wanted to take the House, if I wanted to whine and complain about Trump, it seems a bit more fun than you know, being able to govern. But anyways, thank you for watching. I'm thinking of starting like a podcast type thing where I can ramble incoherently for 40 minutes, kind of what this YouTube channel was founded on. But like not with the background of this, just me talking and I don't know, I could put like fucking slime on it. Or play a game in the background and just put a still frame so you can listen to it at 2 times speed, commuting or something. I don't see how people watch these videos not at 2 times speed. I don't see how people watch any of YouTube besides for music and movie clips at not 2 times speed. I just think I process things faster because I'm smarter than the average idiot on election Twitter. Yes, I'm willing to say that. 2.5 thousand subscriber special, taking an IQ test. I've actually tried those. All of them are paywalled. But anyways, thank you for watching. Godspeed. Subscribe and like and comment down below. We'll hopefully be returning to regular content soon. Um, to be fair, I have no idea when this is being uploaded. It's mostly a video for me to stitch into the gaps of when Luke posts. I think I might make more of these. This is kind of fun. Anyways, thank you for watching. Godspeed. Tester's done out. Oh, and right after I finish recording, we get news that Greg Abbott will go harsher on Democrats if they don't return back to Austin during their boycott. Very smart Democrats. So it could get worse. That's all.